I have Mr. Atik Mohammed on the line now to also speak to us about this particular process. Good afternoon, Mr. Atik Mohammed.
Good afternoon.
And thanks for joining us here.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I just spoke with the Ashanti Regional NPP Secretary, and he's saying that there was low publicity. Do you also share the same view?
Thank you very much, and let me say good afternoon to your viewers. That view is a view we have expressed long even before the exercise began.
Okay.
We said that the Electoral Commission hadn't applied itself very well to publicizing this event, and for which reason we predicted there was likely to be a low turnout. And indeed, true to our predictions, we have recorded quite an impressive turnout in a lot of the registration centers. But beyond this issue of low publicity and its attendant low turnout, we also think that some issues occurred during the registration period which ought to be addressed going forward.
Okay.
The first is this thorny and very controversial issue of identification. The law requires that you must be a Ghanaian before you are entitled to register. Now, what determines one's citizenship includes, among others, the use of passport, driver's license, and so on. But the truth is that these 18-year-olds have not had the opportunity to travel. So the issue of passport is an issue at all.
Okay.
How many of them have parents or they themselves have had the opportunity to purchase cars? So the issue of driver's license too is a moot one. National identification, we all know that exercise stalls rather mysteriously. So all these identification systems that the law requires you to present or the CI requires you to present, for the most part, were difficult to produce. So the other option, and indeed the most widely used option, was the guarantor option. That brings you people who are registered voters to guarantee that indeed you are a Ghanaian and that you are of age and so on and so forth. That identification system actually lends itself to a great deal of abuse. We have complained and we continue to complain that the MPP and the NDC are in the habit of registering minors. They are particularly the reason why we have a bloated register.
Well, can you really substantiate that? If you say that the NPP and the NDC, register minors, can you substantiate that?
Guarantee for people who obviously are not up to 18. But it is because there are no other options we could rely on. The only hope those people had was the guarantors. And so it became a problem trying to object to the nationality and indeed the age of these people, some of these minors they brought and so on. So it was really a difficulty. And we have suggested, and we'll continue to suggest, that the national identification system, a little more needs to be invested into it. Some more energies ought to be committed into that project. Okay. And we must have a harmonized identification system. If we had a harmonized identification system, I'm sure this issue of registration wouldn't have even arisen in the first place, because there would have been an automatic transfer of these people who have come of age onto the register. Okay. So that is a very critical issue. The cases of violence we recorded, we think strongly that, look, there has to be a solution to this perennial problem of violence. That at some polling stations or registration centers, either the NPP or the NDC will elect to be the ones determining who qualifies and what ought to be done at that center. We think that problem, and it is because we have seen the police act, but we want a lot more of the actions from the police. Okay.
Mr. Atik, would you say that, a lot of people didn't have the opportunity to register, so the date needs to be extended? Today is the last day of the process, and given what you have just told us, would you say that there should be an extension?
Because of the ill-preparedness of the Electoral Commission and the problems we witnessed as a result, of course, already there is a system of continuous registration in place, but we think that there's this limited registration, so that we are able to address some of the problems we encountered during the process. We think that a little more time should be extended. In saying this, also recognize that it is likely to affect the extra calendar. But if in between time there can be some adjustment so that we can have at least a few more days, 3 days or so more for these individuals who were constrained from registering, not by reason of they not turning up, but simply because the Electoral Commission was ill-prepared, and the fact that the players in this process, and by that I mean the political parties, themselves did not conduct themselves fairly well in some of the registration centers. I think that the youngsters deserve some opportunity, and that opportunity should come in the form of extending the time to at least 3 or 4 days as they can get to register. And we must also continue with the continuous registration process.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us here on TV3 Midday Live, Mr. Atik Mohammed, and he is with the PNC.